like everything's completely fine. But I was asleep and I got woken up to find a documentary about the Queen Mother. Oh my God, I've just realised. A documentary about the Queen Mother on my YouTube, and it was talking about how the Nazis bombed London and the Buckingham Palace, which I had said to the King yesterday, why did Burnham move up to Manchester? Why did he move 10 Downing Street to number 10 North in Manchester? What does he know? And I have been implying that they may be about to pull off some false flag in London. I've been trying to tell the King that they're targeting him. You know, I've been warning him since the end of time. So when I had been suspecting it, but I never looked into it because I guess it wasn't time, because Starmer was still in power. It would also explain the Anne Widdecombe assassination quite perfectly. So I watched this documentary about the Queen Mother and it was all there, and I said to the King, you need to figure this out. I can't do all the work for you. But then I was told, you got to do the work for them. And I was like, oh, I didn't want to have to do this. I didn't I didn't want to have to pull up the evidence from the underworld, but I did. And it shows evidence of Donald Trump talking about dropping a nuclear bomb on Great Britain. It talks about how Zelensky and America and all of that have been creating drones that can drop nukes. And I'm wondering also as well whether, you know, when America and Zelensky and that bombed Chernobyl twice and tried to blame Russia, but I proved it wasn't Russia. I proved that the drones were Ukrainian, American funded, EU funded, blah, blah, blah. I've been able to prove everything they've said against Russia to be a lie. Um, I've pulled up interviews regarding how Great Britain, how Trump controls Trident, how Trump controls Britain's ability to activate nukes. And I've just been saying to the King, the Queen Mother is letting you know, because this will be why she said, don't worry, Mr. Putin. This is what I'm realizing. What they did to us isn't going to happen to you. They're not going to let the Queen Mother and King George and Queen Elizabeth and all of the people from the Holocaust. It's basically all the victims of World War Two rose up from the underworld and said, we're not going to let this happen. And that'll be what the Queen Mother said when she said, what happened to us isn't going to happen to you. We're not going to let you take the blame for Buckingham Palace, for London being bombed. I pulled up evidence of talks of false flag events in America and Great Britain and all that. They've already been trying to pull them off anyway, but it's been done under the radar to slowly move the target towards the King and London. And now, of course, they have on purpose provoked Iran, so that Iran have now threatened the royal family directly and London. And Andy Burnham has very conveniently removed himself out of London. And nobody found it suspicious. For hundreds of years, prime ministers have lived at number 10 Downing Street in London, and he conveniently removes himself out of the way. Why? Because they've been planning a false flag event. They're trying to provoke Russia and Iran to drop something, and I'm just putting it out there. They may have been planning to drop something on London and on Buckingham Palace using drones that they could blame on Iran and Russia to pull Britain into the war. So I've let the King know this. I've also let the ICC know this. So if anything happens, you know, it was America, Great Britain, and the EU and Ukraine. And I'm just putting it out there now. If Iran touches my king, if Iran touches Great Britain, they will lose everything. They will no longer have the respect of the world or the support of the world. They will be seen as just as evil. Do not touch a single hair on my king. I'm telling you now. He might piss me off. I might yell at him. I might storm away and say you're on your own, but that's only because I'm following orders. I've been told I can't do any more to help him. I can only present so much truth to him before he wakes up and realizes that he is the intended target. In order to get to him, they had to remove people like Anne Widdecombe out the way. Even Leslie Graham had to be removed out of the way so that they could blame Russia for what they're planning to do to the King in Great Britain. Blame Russia, pull Iran into it. It's everything I said, except it's coming from the people that man shook hands with, Zelensky, Starmer, and Trump. He's broken bread with these people. And the one person he should be ringing and calling a truce with, he's not, because they made him think that Putin was the enemy. If anyone touches a hair on that king's head, all hell will break loose. Tommy Robinson and is working with Elon Musk and Donald Trump. He's a MAGA, he's a neo-Nazi. He has been trying to prepare Great Britain for a civil war. That's why Musk keeps talking about it. There's going to be a civil war. It's not a prediction, it's a plan. They've been planning it. They have been strategically placing everyone and everything into place so that they could direct their target right on the king, so that they can remove him from power and rape Great Britain of all its beautiful resources. It's everything I've been saying, but I didn't want to say it. I didn't want to have to say to the king, Donald Trump wants to bomb you. And then I've been keeping my mouth shut because I'm targeted enough as it is. Every day I wake up is a miracle that that I'm still alive. I mean, I'm a death angel. Um, I'm not going to be dying anytime soon, but it doesn't stop them from trying. And I have to just keep shouting louder and louder and louder. But I have just posted evidence. I have posted proof that Donald Trump in 2016 talked about dropping a nuke on Britain. And what have I been saying? That their plan for Great Britain goes back to when him and Tony Blair were rising into power, and that they've been putting this great plan of theirs into action since he was president the first time. From the COVID pandemics that came out of Ukraine and the American labs that they blamed on China, I was right about everything. I haven't been the only thing. It's not that I just I didn't want to go there into looking at evidence that Great Britain and America and Zelensky and that would go so far as to bomb Great Britain and Buckingham Palace. But then I've been keeping it to myself, though I hinted yesterday. And then this thing popped up with the Queen Mother, and it's like I can't deny it anymore, because you have to remember, like I said to the King, you have to remember who funded Hitler. America funded Hitler. So Hitler bombing Buckingham Palace in London was funded by America. And that's what they're trying to do again, because they play by the same playbook. So they're disguising these drones that they all own. They're misdirecting attention away from themselves so that people will focus on Putin. Now, the interesting thing is, I try to bring up interviews, known interviews with Vladimir Putin, because I had put them up on Instagram and X and that before, where Putin clearly says, I have no interest in targeting Europe and Great Britain. And I couldn't find a single one. I found one article They've all vanished off the face of the earth. So they're manipulating YouTube and the internet to erase Putin's interviews so that people can't say, but that's not what he said. Look, this is what he said. So they're obviously, we know Bill Gates and Microsoft and that are in on it because they own the software for the drones and the voting machines. They're erasing history. And all you'll get is people saying, we're not afraid of you, Putin. We're coming to take you on, and all of that. So that if people try and look it up, there's nothing there. But luckily, because I know people are documenting everything that I post, it'll be there. You'll see it because I've posted it. I've even got a video where I say to the king, that I recorded at the start of the year, I think, when they tried to say the Russians were coming. And I said, um, I think I've got links, I might be able to pull it up. And I said, was talking directly to King Charles, and I said, don't believe what you're being told. They're lying to you. If you want the truth, ring Putin and he will tell you himself. That's actually a video up. And I think I put links in. But they're erasing videos and they're erasing stuff off YouTube and Google and that, so you can't find his interviews. You'll find the opposite. And it's against the law. It's against the Geneva Convention to publish propaganda to incite hatred or fear or violence. So YouTube and Google, when the trials come, the Geneva Convention at the Hague, that'll be brought up in at the Geneva Convention. It's in the Geneva Convention. I mean, it'll be brought up in the Hague when they go to trial. It's against the law. It's against the Geneva Convention to only show one side and to lie in order to instill fear and violence and to drum up hatred towards someone, towards another country. It's against the law. And remember, I said when this is all over, a whole pile of journalists and media outlets and that are going to be dragged to the Hague for lying, for putting it out there. It is against the law. It's a war crime to report lies in order to uh, put the fear of war into people and to turn nations against someone in order to gain favour for your side. It is against the law. So it means YouTube and X and Instagram and Microsoft, Google, and all that. They will be dragged to war for, and like the BBC and all of them. It's against the law. They'll all be held accountable because in the new world, um, there's like a clean sweep of everything, not just politics, but journalism and media and social media and that as well, because everything gets torn down, all the cancer gets removed so that we can start again. And it will start at the roots level as well, which is newspapers, radios, radio stations, news outlets, broadcasting. They'll be held accountable for telling lies because they're lying to the fear mongers in order to keep people under their thumb so that they can have control over the narrative. So they try and remove people like me. They remove anything where Vladimir Putin has gone public to say we are not targeting Europe, we have no interest in Great Britain, and remove it with people saying what would happen if Russia bombed, if Russia nuked London, what would happen if Russia invaded Great Britain. Starmer says that, they're ready for a Russian invasion, like all that sort of thing. So then it gets people scared. But I know Putin, and all he's ever wanted is everything he's ever wanted since forever: peace. And Donald Trump and that were like, oh, we'll get you peace, we'll get you peace, and lying, but he doesn't really want peace. He's making too much money for these drones that he's going to turn on the king. It's everything I said. It's just that I was suspecting they were planning a bombing, and I think they were hoping that if they poked the bear enough, that Iran or Russia would be able to do it for them. But I think that, in all honesty, they've been planning on doing it themselves so that they can blame Iran and Russia. And this whole thing was Zelensky saying to Trump, I can prove to you that Russia's secretly arming Iran. I think it's all part of the setup. If he can get away with faking that evidence, if Zelensky can get away with faking that evidence, they'll be able to get away with faking evidence against Russia or Iran bombing Great Britain and targeting the king. Because time slows down to speed up, and because they're the Fabian Society and they work at a snail's pace, I see it in real time. I see their slowed down actions in real time because I'm a time jumper. I understand how time works. And the thing is, because the king's plane and his vehicles, just like Putin's and all that, are equipped with modern technology, he wouldn't even be safe to escape Great Britain on a plane because they'd just take his plane down. And I warned him about that when I was investigating the plane crashes. I said to the king, do not get on any planes, do not get on any planes involving Donald Trump, do not get on any planes. That's the real reason why he won't go on that Qatar plane. I think it's how they took care of Lindsey Graham, but I think that he knows that his moment is coming. And because I had mentioned about God striking him down, striking that aeroplane down, I think he's too scared to fly. I think they're cleaning that plane of all the evidence and making sure that they can't use anything to bring it down, because that's what he does with Musk. He uses Musk technology and those space lasers and satellites and all that to mess with. Because remember, that's what I proved, the Potomac helicopter airplane crash. They used a EMP to mess with the helicopter. It's proven. There's video evidence of it. So the king isn't even safe to fly. They are moving their targets. He's in their direct line of sight. And the fact that Andy Burnham has conveniently removed himself from London tells you that whatever they're planning is close. Because Donald Trump now has to send those unredacted files to the Supreme Court. And once they get out, he knows he's done for. And when he's done for, Starmer's done for because he was a human trafficker, as was Zelensky. So they need to act fast. And in doing that, by thinking if Starmer stepped down because he was told to, because it was like part of the plan to bring someone in that with the smiling face, he's a friend of the people, but I'm just going to conveniently remove myself away from London so that when they drop this false flag to blame on Iran or Russia, and it will be coming direct from Ukraine, I can tell you that now. Burnham's conveniently out the way. But my boy was just talking about if he signs up to the Air Force, he'll probably have to go down to London. So over my dead body, over my immortally dead body, will they be getting anywhere near my son and sending them to war against the people that him and I and his brother went through hell to protect and defend, which is Russia and Vladimir Putin. I said to my son, what are you going to do if they send you to fight Russia? And he said, I'm only going to target Russia if Russia targets Great Britain because I have to defend my king. And I said, he's never going to target Great Britain. And he said, I know. That's why I'm not worried. But if I can get my sons out of here before any of the signing ons when he's 18 and stuff like that, then I'll move bloody heaven and earth in order to do it. Because as long as Labour are running this country, the people of Great Britain are never ever going to be safe, especially with Trump and Zelensky in power. Because they're planning to drop bombs on Great Britain, and London will be first. And they're going to try and set it up to make it look like it was either Iran or Russia. And this whole Zelensky, I'm going to show you proof that Russia's arming Iran. It'll all be fake evidence. I've let the ICC and all of that know. Make sure that it's not AI generated or fake, because I know that they're planning some false flag in America and Great Britain, because they need Great Britain to be drawn into it. And then, of course, Andy Burnham comes in and we're going to do everything we can, Ukraine, but I'm just going to conveniently move my way out of London and, position myself in Manchester so that I'm out of the way from the nuclear fallout. And with the radiation levels rising in Ukraine, I've just posted evidence that Ukraine is arming themselves. A lot of them are doing it, but predominantly EU, Ukraine, and China and America, although China has nothing to do with this, with mini nuclear missiles, like little nuclear bombs in there on these drones. And I'm wondering if that's not what they've been dropping over Ukraine and Russia, because the people of Ukraine are saying that the radiation levels are rising. And it can't just be because they bombed Chernobyl twice. With the rate that it's rising, it can't just be that they've bombed Chernobyl twice. It's suspicious. So then I thought, I'll just have a look and see if there's nuclear bomb drones, and yep, there are. And who does it mention all the time? Ukraine. And who do they call the drone king? He is the drone king of the world. That's why they brought him in with the Venezuela Bella 1 heist. They're bringing him in on the Iran thing. It's all on purpose, because they make money from every drone that little gimp uses. And our king shook hands with him. Our king shook hands with the three men. Well, I use the term man lightly. With the three men who have been planning to drop a bomb on his house. And remember, I had that dream where the Queen was standing on Windsor Castle, and she stomped her foot and she said no. And the ground shook so hard it knocked Charles over, and the hand of God came and stood him up, stood King Charles up. So you have never been able to trust Ukraine. You have never been able to trust Trump or Labour. The people of Great Britain, the people of the world trust in Ukraine. We're on Ukraine's side. Well, their leader is planning on helping drop bombs on our king. And if any bombs start dropping on Great Britain, you're going to know it was Labour. I've put all the evidence there. You're going to know it was Labour. You're going to know it was the EU. You're going to know it was Ukraine. You're going to know it was Trump. You're going to know Gates was helping. You're going to know Musk was helping. And then Great Britain will go to war with Ukraine. That's exactly what will happen. They'll tear everything down here in Great Britain, and then they'll start heading over to Ukraine. And then they'll turn Ukraine would have turned Ukraine and America would have turned Great Britain into the enemy. And then what will happen is Iran and China and North Korea and Russia will take the side of Great Britain, because that's exactly what I said would happen. And then they're all screwed. Because I've been saying from day one, Russia, North Korea, China, and Iran are the four nations who have been going out of their way to protect Christianity for Christians, and they're not even Christians. Russia's orthodoxy, obviously, but China and Iran and North Korea are keeping a distance and not getting involved when they could be in order to protect America and Great Britain and Europe's free right to be Christians, because they know that we are up against pagans and neo Nazis. But if they bomb our king and they start bombing Great Britain, Ukraine, and America, France, and Germany, and that will immediately become the enemy of Great Britain and the Commonwealth, because the Commonwealth will be forced to have to take the side of Great Britain because we're still the Commonwealth. And then China and North Korea and that will help us, which means that they're then all screwed, completely screwed. So they messed up because that interview that Trump gave when he said that he was prepared to bomb Britain in 2016, because remember when I was doing the Bella One investigation and I said they've been planning this as far back as, right, I was able to take that all the way back to 2016. Because see, that's when they started coming after my WordPress. Remember I said I've been in this fight since 2016? Because I was starting to see things they didn't want the world to see. I just didn't know that Trump was behind it all. What was happening to me, I didn't know Trump was behind it all. But now I do. And now I'm in the holy war to bring him down. So, yeah, so now you know Great Britain. Now you know France and Germany and Ukraine and all the people who took the side of Zelensky, waving the Ukrainian flag in that. You're supporting the people who have been planning to bomb my king. And like I said, over my immortal dead body, what the king needs to do is dissolve parliament, get everyone in Labour arrested, including Starmer. There needs to be massive investigations into the defence ministry. He needs to take it to the ICC to request arrest warrants of people like Zelensky and Trump and Macron and Mers and all of them, everyone who helped them pull off the Venezuela Bella One thing. There needs to be a massive international investigation, because this isn't just high treason. This isn't just terrorism. This is an act of evil. They want to do to Great Britain what America wants to do to Great Britain, what America did to Japan, but instead of atomic bomb, nuclear. And Starmer's Labour is more than happy to hand him the codes to Trident. And I've proven it. Undeniable proof. And this is why they're determined to shut me down and shut me up and get rid of me. Because as I've been saying from day one, they know that it's only a matter of time before I figure out every single piece to their plan. And now I have. This is the nuclear bomb of truth. This is the nuclear bomb like truth bomb of all bombs. And now I'm wondering the truth bomb in New York sets Washington on fire. Remember that I put that up in when? 2020, 2021, I put that video up. So the Queen Mother and King George and Queen Elizabeth, they're not letting it happen. So they're blowing the whistle, they're squealing on the British government, because the British government were responsible for the bombing in the bombing of Britain anyway, because they were also funded by America. Britain and Germany were funded by America in order to fight each other. Um, the British government were not on the side of the British, and they haven't been on the side of the monarchy since they killed Queen Elizabeth I. So the way Great Britain has elections and who they let run for these elections needs to be torn down and started again. And that's what I was saying to the king. I can help him. I know what to do, but he has to listen. If he doesn't, he's not going to be able to get off this island because they'll get him on his plane. They can get him in his car. Just look at what they did to Putin. Blew up his car, dropped drones on his house, targeted his helicopter, targeted his planes. Until they're removed, certain people aren't safe to be in the air or even in cars with modern technology. You need to be driving around in old petrol vehicles that don't have sat nav in them. Good old fashioned cars from the 80s and 90s and 60s and 70s and all that, without any of the modern technology on it. Go back to using a road map that you have to unfold as a piece of paper. That's the only way you're going to guarantee to be safe. I just hope the king's listening. I hope, because I'm so heavily shadow banned. I know who's listening, but I'm praying that the right people are listening. I don't fear death. We have nothing to fear. But my babies are only just starting to step into manhood, and I will fight hell itself if these bastards think for 1 minute that they're going to be putting my boys or my king in any kind of danger just so that they can roll over the ashes and mine up the minerals and metals and that. And shame on the British military. Shame on every single one of you. Shame on every single one of you. Army, Air Force, Navy, Secret Service. Shame on every single one of you because you are fighting to murder your own people. You are fighting to murder your own king. Shame on every single one of you. I was just following orders doesn't cut it when you are being used to murder your own people so that foreigners can come and rape the lands of all its resources to blame on an innocent man in Russia. Shame on every single one of you. You need to be positioning yourself as protective barriers around the coastlines of Britain and our king. You need to be using yourself as protective shields, but you're not. You're the weapons. And my father was in the army for 34 and a half years, and he would have been proud to die for his queen. He loved Queen Elizabeth. He was her guardian when she came to New Zealand, and Prince Charles as well when he came to New Zealand. My dad, when he came to Palmerston North and that, my dad was there with him, and he was honoured. And people like my dad would be turning over in their graves if they knew that the modern military were gearing up to bomb their own king and their own people of Great Britain. To blame on Russia, my dad liked Vladimir Putin. My dad introduced me to Vladimir Putin. I didn't know who he was until my dad pointed him out. But my dad is also the reason why I can do these historic grief investigations. My dad's the reason why the mystery inside history shows are what they are, because I'm very good at investigating the past. I see things hidden that nobody wants uncovered. And because I live in the underworld, I dig up everything. And I use Odin as my shovel. So now you know the truth, America. Now you know the truth, Great Britain. Now you know the truth, Ukraine. Now you know the truth, France and Germany. Now you know the truth. Now you know what they've been planning this whole time. And what we need to be doing is the king needs to be reaching out to Vladimir Putin. I'll do it myself. If the king comes to me, I'll go to Putin myself. I will broker a peace deal, even just between Russia and Great Britain. I'll do it if nobody else will, because I'm not scared of Putin. Oh, it's like being scared of a teddy bear. I'm not scared of Putin, but he's scared of me. But he should be scared of me. But he has no reason to be scared of me. But at least if Great Britain and the Commonwealth make peace with Russia, we're left out of it. And we're not going to be funding anything. And then we can use all that money and our military to protecting our own waters because Russia isn't the threat to Great Britain. America is. And I've been saying that since day one of these investigations, thanks to Theresa, thanks to Queen Elizabeth I, and King George, and all of them. I just didn't want to have to go that far as to say this is what Trump and Labour and Ukraine and that are planning on behind the scenes. That'll be why Starmer quickly ran to Ukraine on his last day to give him those billions because he needs those drones not only to make him money, but to pull out a false pull out pull, but to pull out a false flag to target London and the King and the people of Great Britain before the Supreme Court order the unredacted Jeffrey Epstein files to be presented. Because everybody involved in this are in those files, including Burnham's current Yvette Fielding and Ed Miliband and all that. And the evidence is all there, it can't be denied. I knew I had would run the risk of losing my social media, but I also knew that enough people were watching me who were taking copies of everything that I was posting. And I just had to walk in faith that eventually the right people would go back on it all and go, holy shit, she was telling the truth. So when I was telling people in my life, don't support Ukraine because it's going to come back on you, they're not who you think they are, not the people, the government. Don't go public with your support of Ukraine because it's going to look bad and eventually, like, don't do it. Don't do it because I can see what's coming, and then you're going to be associated with the people who plotted the murder of my king and the King David bloodline. You're talking about the bloodline closely associated to Jesus himself. And these bloodlines are supposed to ensure the safe passage of the second coming of Christ so that whoever the couple is that is going to give birth to him can do so in a safe world. And now, look what's happened. Great Britain has turned on the king because they're saying he's pro Islam, and now Iran is threatening to bomb the king. So, do you see? It's just like in The Girl Who Saved Two Kings. Remember Spain? King Dario lied to the Prince of Persia in order to start a war with the King of Italy. Prince Yasir, I'm trying to remember their names. King Dario lied to Prince Yasir to start a war with King Leandro of Italy. And it was all lies, just so that he could rule both kingdoms once they killed each other in the war. And it was Eleanor who figured it out and said, no, 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 that's not true. That's not what happened. I have the proof. And she pulled out the seal and she said, my father wasn't there. And then that's when Yasir realized that Dario had lied to him. So then Dario and Eleonora, their two kingdoms, come together to fight Dario, to banish him, and he gets killed. And the kings of Hungary and Poland and all that, they come together to fight King Dario of Spain, because then they realized that he had been lying to them in order to get them to fight each other, so that he wouldn't have to get his hands dirty, and then he'd come along and take over the kingdoms. But she was smart, she figured it out. It's just like that. It's literally playing out in real life. Kind of. Kind of, sort of. But in this instance, Eleanor's father would be Putin. But you know what I mean. You know what I'm getting at. I'm just trying to add humor to it because this is a deathly serious situation. And I need everyone to wake up now. The truth of who Labor really are, the truth of who Trump and his administration really are, the truth of who the EU and Zelensky really are has now been exposed. I didn't want to have to do it, but it was when Burnham moved up to Manchester that's what piqued my radar. My antenna went up the second he announced number 10 North, and I thought, that's weird. That's very weird. And the Greater Manchester area, as I proved to the King in my investigation after the Venezuela thing, with Donald Trump's son's mining company hanging over Great Britain and Elon Musk's mining company already starting to register itself as a business here, they're perched to drill and mine Great Britain after the King is gone, because it's all his land. And some of the most precious metals and minerals are in the Greater Manchester area, where Burnham was mayor. So I just hope I've done enough to wake the king up. He needs to contact Vladimir Putin and he needs to say, let's work together to bring peace. Send me, I'll do it. I'll make him some of my nice sausage rolls. I can fix this for the king, but he has to wake up. He has to see the truth. Like I said yesterday, he has to see the truth for what it is. Same with Putin. He's not completely innocent in all of this, because I warned him not to trust Trump and Musk either. And then because Zelensky wrote that open letter, remember people saying, oh, Zelensky really showed Putin when he said, we had no plan of reaching a peace deal in Alaska. That proves exactly what I'm just saying. That whole thing in Alaska was all a setup. It, it was a ruse. And all it's done is proven that Zelensky um, isn't on the side of peace. All it's done is prove that Zelensky is working with Donald Trump to ensure the removal of the monarchy, to blame Russia. They caught themselves out in their own web of lies, basically, is what I'm saying. And it can't be denied because now it's all documented in the media. They might have removed all the proof that Putin is no threat to Great Britain and Europe, but they've left the evidence that Zelensky and Starmer and America are. And Burnham is just Starmer in disguise. So now you know. And it's up to you. You got to be the ones to tear it all down now, because I'm just one person and I offered to help. I offered. I know exactly how to fix it. I know what to do to make Britain honest and better and prosperous and bountiful. I know exactly what to do. I can make the king a trillions of monies and pay off Britain's national debt, all before I headed to America. I'd only need a couple of months. For as long as it took me to get my visa to go to America, I'd be able to fix Great Britain in time for a general election, bringing in a few laws under King's prerogative that requires all MPs and anyone running for Prime Minister to have background checks. So, People Before Parliament. The People Before Parliament Act. Anyway, so yep, the truth is there. I'll put links in the description box, but you're not coming near my babies. Do you hear that, Trump? Do you hear that, Starmer? You are not coming anywhere near my babies, and if you touch a single hair on my king's head, then I'll ramp my wrath up to 2, and it goes up to 1,000,000. My amp goes up to 11, not 10, and you've only seen me at number 1 of wrath. So you don't even want to get me to 11, because then I'll be the nuclear bomb in your life. Anyway, I'm going to go. I'll speak to you later. Just, Your Majesty, wake up, please. It's not going to affect me the way it's going to affect you if you don't wake up. America, Ukraine, France, Germany, Great Britain, wake up. Because it's going to be on your heads when we're burying the entire royal family. Not Russia, not Iran, France, Germany, Ukraine, Great Britain, America. It'll be on your heads. So I'm going to go. I'll speak to you later. Ka kite.